if you think of all these things that cluster B people and toxic people do, here's a great quote. Even though I'm not like uberly down with all that the source of the quote says, I like this quote. The outer situation of your life and whatever happens there, whoops, Buffy, is the surface of the lake, sometimes calm, sometimes windy and rough, sometimes outright stormy, right? But I added that, sorry. According to the cycles and seasons, deep down, however, the lake is always undisturbed. You are the whole lake, not just the surface. And that's Eckhart Tolle. But I love that because if you think about your life, your experience, difficulties, as that you are the whole lake, and you're going to be mindful and you're going to observe some things that are key, okay, Bob, then you can think about all the trials and tribulations and everything on the surface, but it's not really who you are. It's not really where you need to be. Mindfulness is so key in all of this, and being in a moment at a time. Be able to get practice, if you've never done this, when you have a thought, when you have a feeling, let alone when your head's racing, try to slow everything down. When you have a thought or a feeling, you want to give 90 seconds of just observing that without, oh, that's horrible, that's bad, or hey, that's terrific. No, you just want to have 90 seconds pause, minimum, and don't have any emotion about it, and sit with it. Because that often, if you think about the lake that you really are, or the metaphor that you are a lake, so then when something's rippling on the surface, when a thought comes up, when an emotion is, making waves on the surface, you can observe that. Do you have to be with that? Do you have to be chopping up and down with that kind of thing? Focus on, rather than the borderline and the narcissist and to focus on what have people been doing? How do people think they got hooked? What do you think you can do to unhook? Why not do something on the other side of things for a change? But what if we were to just explore a little bit about how to really make change in each of our lives in a way that is, lots of people know this already, but the practice of these things, the more we practice, the better we get. And some people really are still caught up in the vortex of the choppy seas on the surface of the lake, which is, reactivity still to, but they did this, but they said that, but they did this. But I like Eckhart Tolle's kind of quote about, the lake. And then on the surface of that lake, it's also about really listening to, I don't mean this literally, right, but the voice in your head. What are your thoughts trying to tell you? What are your feelings telling you? But what's that sort of narrative that's running in your mind? Is it negative? Is it, are you putting yourself down? Is it the internal critic? Because the voice in your head, just like the surface of the lake, is not the sum total of you. It's not really you at all. It's important to remember that the voice, so anything critical, anything negative, anything too focused on a toxic person or whatever, that choppiness on the top of the lake, which you are not, you are deep, you're subconscious, and you can bring more to your consciousness. You are all the richness of what's under the surface of the lake. So the voice, that negative, hurtful, often it's from the inner critic. It's not you. And I think that's really powerful just to think about. Oh, I'm trying to just be one with them. I think that that's really powerful to think about it that way. I don't know, or empowering. I don't know how other people feel. So you really have to pay attention to repeating thoughts, because thoughts come before feelings, and thoughts drive feelings. And if you're paying attention to the thoughts and slowing them down, and maybe paying attention to just and observing one at a time, no judgment. It's not good, it's not bad, just is a thought. 90-second pause. Be with it. Be in that moment. Being an observer is so helpful. And I think that I'm pretty practiced at this, but it's easy to slide out of that. So if you're paying attention to a thought or a feeling, or a feeling that's driven by a thought, and these things are repeating, as lots of people are dealing with that after a narcissist or a borderline or whatever, and you're being the observer, you can find a deep calm in the right then and there moment of observing and not letting all the other things that usually one after the other, emotionally, reactivity, thinking negatively. When you're thinking negatively, when you're ruminating, when you can't stop thinking about the X, or that is this person the X or not, etc. It's so important to practice mindfulness, to be able to observe mindfully what you are thinking, because it will inform you more about what you're feeling. You need to go from what you're thinking to following how you're feeling and focusing on that instead of the reactive piece of but this, but that, if only, what if, that cognitive dissonance and that confusion. So the more that you can be mindful in a radically accepting way, so that you're looking at things, you're observing your thoughts, your emotions, feelings, impulses, the false hope, the need for that next fix that you really need not go after again. It's only going to hurt you so much more. You want to stop the reactivity. You want to be able to mindfully observe what you are thinking, how it leads to what you're feeling, and then how can you create some change there of just being the depth of the lake and not being at the top, the surface of the lake with the choppy emotional ups and downs of it all. So doing this maybe several times a day in the beginning, even for just a couple of minutes at a time, building to 5 minutes to 10 minutes, maybe a little bit longer once or twice a day. The practice of it will start to break that ruminating. It will break that false hope, what if, focus on the X, focus on the other person, which is what's really crucial for you to not only start your healing and recovery journey, but also for you to be able to bring down the reactivity. This observing mindfully will help you to not only stop reactivity, but to refocus on the present, on the here and now moment, on yourself. And it's also a way to stop avoiding and trying to escape from what you're thinking and feeling and yourself, to focus and ruminate only more about the borderline or the narcissist, because you need to find your way, if you haven't already, to know the word no, the action no, the boundary of no, the no contact, the full no contact that is so crucial for forward moving recovery and healing in a process. So observing mindfully helps you refocus and will stop reactivity. And the more that you are just focusing on what you're thinking, that and what feelings does that lead to, and then with your internal critic in the middle there, you need to start getting really more in touch with what you are feeling, so that you can start to break the pattern of focus on whomever instead of yourself. And also, like I said, it will help you to not be in the flight mode, the avoid self, the re-abandon self flight mode that people get into and get stuck in, constantly thinking about the borderline or the narcissist. one more time, observing mindfully is a way to refocus. Your mind can't think about the borderline and the narcissist and the good memories and the bad memories, the cognitive dissonance, while you are mindfully in an observing mode in the present moment of your own thoughts and, more importantly, your own feelings. It's important to not just stay stuck with the thoughts, but to move into what you're feeling, because thoughts happen before feelings. Maybe you're flooded with feelings often. Well, then you need to work it backwards, journal about it. What I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling like I really need this person back because I hurt so much. I need that hit, I need that fix. And then how can you go back to what was the original thought? It's really important, and it's also a very effective practice to break rumination and to help you come back to focusing on yourself. 90-second pause, by the way, that I was talking about is so that we don't feed the emotion. It's going to be driven by the thought. If we follow the thought, the emotion is going to come next. Next thing you know, we follow the two things, and we've gone from wherever we were to wherever we end up. So it's stopping emotion in its tracks, really, is what that is a practice of doing.